What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my hands-on and first impressions video of the T-Mobile Revvl 6X 5G. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is the new T-Mobile Revvl 6X 5G. Now the name is a bit of a tongue twister, and this phone was launched in August of 2023, and I'm really excited to show you everything that there is to know about the device here in this video. Now this phone, hence the name of it, is being offered as a T-Mobile exclusive, and you can buy it at both the regular, postpaid T-Mobile, and also Metro by T-Mobile. Now it does seem like, especially at Metro, you can get this phone pretty much for free, whether you're making a new line or switching in from another carrier, so most likely you probably won't really be paying much for it. Now despite this phone being so affordable, it's actually packed full of a lot of different features. But before we get too far into things here with the device, let's see what all comes included in the box. So here's the box. You can see right there, T-Mobile Revvl, and then the name of the phone right there, and then some regulatory information on the back. But then opening this up, you can see there's a lot of magenta here, which is the brand color of T-Mobile. We have a SIM card removal tool, and then we also have this additional packet. So we'll see what all is there. We have the SIM card, which already has been installed. We have a USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. It is USB-A on the other end of the cable. And then we do have some literature here, so you can see Revvl 6X 5G, and then some other regulatory information. Now the T-Mobile Revvl 6X 5G features a very large 6.52-inch display. Now this display is IPS LCD, but it is limited at just a 60 Hz refresh rate. So I'm not going to lie, when you're scrolling around here on the phone, things are a little bit on the laggier side. Now I don't think that's actual lag due to the processor being slow or anything like that. I think it's literally because of the refresh rate here on the device. So kind of a bad experience, I will be honest, but I mean, for a phone that's very affordable, if not free for many people, it's probably well worth it, honestly. But I just want you to know that if it seems like things aren't very smooth when scrolling around here, it's not because of my camera or your computer or anything like that. It's literally because of the phone itself right here. Now, for many people, that might not be an issue at all. I think a lot of people that would end up getting this phone just want a phone for the more basic tasks, such as phone calls, text messaging, taking photos here and there, and going on social media. The refresh rate really isn't that big of a deal when it comes to those more basic tasks on a smartphone. Now, in addition to that, this display is 720p, so it's not necessarily the brightest display out there either. I do have the brightness on 100%. But for it being 720p, things do actually look pretty decently crisp and clear here. So if you do want to read an ebook on here or read an article or really anything where you'd want a display with a high pixel count to it, it's really not much of an issue. So overall, I do think the display looks pretty good, especially for a very affordable device. Now the PPI is 269, and then we are getting a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor. We do have a decently thick bottom bezel here, and then up top we do have a water drop notch for the front-facing camera. But again, for a phone that's so affordable such as this one, you really can't ask for too much at all. Now this phone does feature 128 gigabytes of internal storage, which is really impressive. That's a lot of storage, and that'll certainly get pretty much anybody pretty far, unless you're already finding yourself using that much storage on your current phone. But I do think for a very affordable smartphone, that's a really generous amount of storage. So in addition to that, we have micro SD card expansion. So if you want to offload some photos and videos, for example, to free up some of that internal space, you do have that ability as well. Also, in addition to that, the front-facing camera on this device is 8 megapixels, so you can take some decently clear selfies. Now, definitely wait though for my full review video that I will be making in a little bit about this device, as I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from all the various cameras on it. Now, unfortunately, with this device, there is no wireless charging, but we do have a fingerprint sensor located on the power button, and the power button is this magenta button right here. But let's give that fingerprint sensor a try right now. And as you can see, it's very responsive. Let's try that one more time. So it's very accurate, so I'm definitely a big fan of that feature. It certainly saves a lot of time versus having to put your PIN code in every single time you want to access the phone. But in addition to that, This phone is compatible with Face Unlock, so I do appreciate that we have multiple methods for accessing the device. Now on the back of the T-Mobile Revvl 6X 5G, we do have a triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and a 2 megapixel macro camera. Now we'll head over to the camera app right now, and I'll show you a few things here. But we'll flip around and go to the standard photo mode. So here's how things look with the main 50 megapixel camera. And then if you do want to actually take photos in 50 megapixels, you actually have to go over to the More tab and access the 50 megapixel mode right there. Then from there, you can capture images in that mode, and then you're able to take really crisp looking images. So you can see zooming in here, I can get a lot of detail, even zooming in quite significantly. So that's one of the best parts of that 50 megapixel mode. Now the reason why that's not the default and doesn't actually take photos with the 50 megapixel camera in that mode all the time is just because those photos do tend to take up a lot of extra space on your device, and the phone does take a little bit longer to capture them. So that feature is there for the times that you need it, but if you don't always need it, then it's not always enabled, which I do appreciate. But also over in that More tab, we do have the macro camera. And then with macro, you can get very close up here and have things be in really good detail. So that is another option if you want to take close-up images, but honestly, I've found the 50 megapixel mode with zooming in to be a bit better of an experience compared to the macro camera. But at least you are getting multiple options here with the device, which I do appreciate. Now to get to portrait mode, you go over to live focus, and then you can adjust the amount of blur with this slider down here. But you'll get those nice blurred out backgrounds. But here's one thing that's very disappointing. Unfortunately, with the T-Mobile Revvl 6X 5G, you cannot capture portrait mode front-facing images. So you can take regular selfies with the front-facing camera, as you can see right now, and they do look pretty clear overall, except I'm going to turn off beauty mode right there. But if you head over to live focus to access portrait mode, it flips things back to the rear camera. So if you are someone who takes a lot of portrait selfies, then just know that that's not available here with the Revvl 6X 5G. And that is a bit of a surprise because pretty much any smartphone, even the really cheap smartphones, typically do give you portrait mode for the front-facing camera, as well. So if that is something that's important to you, keep that in mind, but if that's something you don't really care about, then I suppose it's not really a big deal. Now, interestingly, heading over to video mode, you can actually capture videos with the rear camera at 2K. So we'll head up to the settings here, and you can see under video, it does actually have an option for 2560 by 1440. So you can take 2K videos with the rear camera, but when you switch over to that, you don't have an option for 60 FPS. So if you do want to capture your videos at 60 frames per second, you do have to do it at 1080p. But that's really not a big deal, and I'm actually very surprised and grateful that we are at least getting 2K video recording. Now, front-facing video is limited at just 1080p, so keep that in mind. Now, with the T-Mobile Revvl 6X 5G, we're getting 4GB of RAM paired up with the MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor. That processor does give us 5G connectivity, hence the name of this device. And even though at this point in 2023, 4G LTE is still very dominant and still kind of the main network people seem to use, 5G is increasingly becoming more and more important. And if you do want to get a phone that can use your carrier's latest and greatest network, then you are going to have to get a 5G enabled device. So fortunately, despite this phone being so affordable, it does at least support 5G. Now, I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 6, and here are the scores that I got from that test, and I'm actually very impressed here with these scores. So I got a single core score of 708 and a multi-core score of 1919. So the MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor is actually very capable, and for a phone that's as affordable as this one, it really is incredible that they gave us such a good processor here. Now, is this phone even close to as powerful as a $1,000 smartphone? Definitely no way. It certainly will be on the slower side compared to the more higher end premium options out there, but I'm just saying that for what it is, I do feel like they're actually giving us a really capable processor. Now, 4GB of RAM in 2023 really isn't that much. I do wish we did get more RAM. So that is one downside here with the device, but at least in exchange for that, we are getting that better processor. And then with this device, we're getting a 4,500 mAh internal battery. We're also getting Android 13. So it's a pretty much stock version of Android here, really nothing too special. So If you've used Android anytime recently, it will be very familiar to you. And then a nice surprise here with this device is that we're actually getting NFC. So if you want to use your phone for tap and pay to make mobile contactless payments, using services such as Google Pay, for example, then you can actually do that here with the Revvl 6X 5G. Now, taking a closer look at the hardware of this device, the phone is made completely of plastic besides the display, which is made of glass. Now, I am a big fan of the look of the phone. It's nothing too special or anything too interesting, but at the same time, I do like that this material doesn't really pick up any fingerprints at all. So you can see it's a pretty nice looking phone, a little bit on the boring side, but again, for what it is, it's fine. I do like that magenta accent on the power button though, that is pretty cool. But on the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. On the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and also the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here on the device, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. And then on the back of the device, we have the T-Mobile logo, and also the camera module with the flash. But this concludes my hands-on and first impressions video of the T-Mobile Revvl 6X 5G. I certainly think this phone has a lot of potential, and it most likely is one of the best options you can get at T-Mobile, especially if you want to get a phone for free. It's really cool that they're even giving out this phone at such an affordable price, or no price for that matter, and I'm certainly looking forward to testing it a bit more before I give you my full review video. But most importantly, I'm curious to know what questions you have about the T-Mobile Revvl 6X 5G. Let me know in the comment section below, but this is Kevin here, and I'll see you in the next one.